السلام عليكم ورحمة الله إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله تعالى وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. My dear brothers and sisters, I welcome you back to our Hajj presentation. And today is the day of the 22nd of Dhul Qa'dah, 1444 years after the migration of or the hijrah of our beloved Prophet ﷺ, which coincides with June 11, 2023. Today I'm going to talk briefly about certain rules when we are in the safar or when we are traveling. And since our brothers and sisters, they are going for Hajj and Umrah and Hajj, so inshallah they will be in the state of traveling. So these rules will be important inshallah, and also if you are reminded of these things, there will be no inshallah confusion whatsoever. First of all of the rules of the traveler or the traveling is applicable or are applicable for all sorts of traveling, and of course in this case for Hajj and Umrah. Second, the guidance is that a traveler, the moment he leaves the boundary of his hometown, Qasr becomes obligatory. Qasr is to shorten the prayer. It is an obligatory action that he must do, because there are some people of knowledge, they said it is optional. If he does Qasr, it's okay, but if he does complete, it's not a problem. This position is not correct, because the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ clearly mentions that Qasr prayer was always 2, it was never 4. So what is Qasr? Qasr is to shorten the Dhuhr prayer and the Asr prayer and the Isha prayer. So Dhuhr prayer 4 becomes 2, Asr prayer 4 becomes 2, and Isha prayer 4 becomes 2. Fajr and Maghrib stays same. Fajr is 2 rakat and Maghrib is 3 rakat. So the hadith or the guidance of the traveler from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is, once he leaves the boundary of his hometown, wherever his hometown is, not the country, the hometown, then Qasr becomes obligatory. For example, I'm from Bangladesh, and many of the people, they live in Dhaka. So once they leave the boundary of Dhaka, then Qasr becomes obligatory. Now we are living in Austin, USA. We live in the state of Texas, in Austin. So when we leave the boundary of Austin, then the Qasr becomes obligatory for the traveler. So let's say that somebody, his flight is going to leave from Austin at Dhuhr time. So he has the option to pray his Dhuhr in Austin. But if he prays it in Austin, then he has to pray 4. But if the plane takes off and he crossed the boundary of Austin, then now if he prays the Dhuhr, he prays 2. He cannot pray 4 anymore. He has to pray 2. If he prays 4, his prayer will not be accepted. This is the correct position, inshallah ta'ala. Also from the hadith or the guidance from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ is that the traveler should not pray the prayers which are associated with the obligatory prayers, 5 times prayer. Like for example, the Dhuhr has some sunnah prayer, the Maghrib has some sunnah prayer, and the Isha has 2 rakat sunnah prayer. All of these are not allowed for the traveler to pray, except the Prophet used to pray the 2 rakat of Fajr before Salat al-Fajr, and of course he used to pray the Witr prayer, and also used to pray the Salat al-Duha. Other than the Rawatib Salah, which is known as the Rawatib Salah, the Salat which is connected to the obligatory Salat, any other optional prayer, it's okay to pray. It's okay to pray. But in the Sunnah of the Prophet, we know that he used to pray the 2 rakat of the Sunniyat al-Fajr, the Witr prayer, and the Duha prayer. Okay, but if he has to pray Salat al-Istikhara, or he made wudu and he must to pray 2 rakat, this all should be allowed, inshallah ta'ala, without any restriction. Also from the hadith of the Musafir or the traveler is that he doesn't have any Jummah prayer and any Eid prayer. So this is not only for the Hajjis, also for any traveler. Because the Prophet traveled so many times with the hundreds of Sahaba, there is no single evidence we have that the Prophet prayed the Jummah prayer or the Eid prayer while he was traveling. This is something that you should keep in mind, inshallah ta'ala. Also for a musafir, it is, as we know, it is a rukhsa. It is not a must, but it is a rukhsa, a concession that Allah gave that we can combine the salat. Which are the salat we can combine? Dhuhr and Asr we can combine, and Maghrib and Isha we can combine. So we cannot combine Fajr and Dhuhr. We cannot combine Isha and Fajr. Neither can we combine Asr and Maghrib. We can combine Dhuhr and Asr. So basically, the Dhuhr and Asr can be prayed from the beginning of the Dhuhr to the end of the Asr anytime. If you bring the Asr early at Dhuhr time, it's called Jama' Taqdeem. If you move the Dhuhr and you pray it at the Asr time, it's called Jama' Ta'khir. But if you pray the Dhuhr and Asr, whichever way you want to pray, you must pray the Dhuhr first and then you pray the Asr. Same thing with Maghrib and Isha. The starting time is Maghrib and the ending time is Isha. The correct time of the ending time of Isha is the Islamic midnight. And the way we define the Islamic midnight is we look at the sunset time and we look at the Fajr time. And this whole hour we divide into two. And then we add that half hour, that half part of that hour to the Maghrib time. So let's say Maghrib is at 5:30 and Fajr is at 3:30 a.m. So we count 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, 9:30, 10:30, 11:30, 12:30, 1:30, 2:30, 3:30. Let's say Fajr is at 3:30. 3:30. So let's say it's 10 hours. So when you have 10 hours, half of 10 is 5 hours. So we add the 5 hour to the 5:30. So the Islamic midnight in this case would be 10:30. So that is the end time of the Isha. So it depends on which time of the year we are in, which zone, time zone we are in. We will calculate our time and we will pray insha'Allah ta'ala. So how to pray? You first give one adhan. The adhan has to be given. If you are even in the plane, you give the adhan and you pray first the Dhuhr, 2 rakat, if you are outside the boundary of your hometown, and then after that you give your iqama and you pray the Asr 2 rakat. If you are doing the Maghrib, combining the Maghrib and Isha, you start any time after Maghrib. If you give the one adhan, you pray the Maghrib 3 rakah, there is no sunnah prayer, and then you pray, you give another iqama, first give the adhan, and then you give the iqama of Maghrib, you pray the Maghrib 3 rakah, then you give the iqama for Isha and you pray Isha 2 rakah. This you can pray at the Maghrib time or you can delay and you can pray it at the Isha time, but make sure you pray it before the Islamic midnight. Also, one thing to keep in mind here, that when people are going for a long distance travel from America to Jeddah, for example, it's a like 12, 13, 14, 15 hour flight, depending on whichever carrier you are taking from wherever you are flying. So for this long hour, a lot of musafir, some of them, they even told me that they don't pray while they're traveling because they're told that while they're in the plane, they don't have to pray. Is this correct? No, it's not correct. You have to pray. How do you pray? Very simple. You look at even though you're going to different time zone, it doesn't matter. All what you have to worry about is the sunset and sunrise, the position of the sun. So let's say for example, you left at Dhuhr time from your hometown. Okay, very good. You keep track of your Dhuhr and Asr, you pray, and you wait until you see the sunset. When you see the sunset from the plane, it becomes dark. There you go. It's now time for your Maghrib and Isha. Just combine your Maghrib and Isha and pray. Okay? And Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, you should be fine. Then Fajr, you ask the hostess or the air host, what time would be the sunrise? And you calculate maybe 45 minutes, 50 minutes before the sunrise. You would kind of figure out this is the dawn time. Approximate that time and pray. That's how you pray the Fajr. Then the Dhuhr should be very simple. You wait until you go the midday. After the midday, if you check the local time would be 2 o'clock, 2:30. I'm sure it would be the time for Dhuhr and Asr. And you combine the Dhuhr and Asr. Pretty simple. In the plane, when you're praying, you make your wudu. You can make wudu with very small amount of water, even while sitting on your seat. I have done wudu by sitting on the seat, and it doesn't create any mess because you know how to make the wudu in the proper way, the sunnah way, with using very less amount of water. Then you try to, if you are in the Muslim carrier, they will always show you the Qibla. If you are not, then you can assume the Qibla as best as you can. And if they don't allow you to stand and pray your obligatory prayer, you can sit in your seat, in your prayers, like in your traveling seat, in your plane seat, and you can just position yourself as much as possible towards the Qibla, as much as possible. And you can, as you know, you can always move around, inshallah, in your seat as much as possible. Fattakullaha mastata'tum, and you try to pray this, inshallah ta'ala, on time. I mentioned how to pray the combining. A misconception: do I have to pray the Dhuhr and Asr when I'm trying to combine one after another? No, you don't have to. If it's easier for you that you should take a break, take a break and you pray it whenever you can. You don't have to pray the two prayers physically together. But if you do that, it's going to be, of course, easier for you. But sometimes the situation is such that you might have to separate them. That would be easier for you. Depends on the situation of the traveler. Also, the last thing that I want to mention here from the hadi of the traveler is that he should, he can, not should, he has the rukhsa of wiping over his footwear for 72 hours while he is in the state of traveling for 3 days. 3 nights and 3 days, 72 hours. So this footwear can be any type of shoe, any type of socks, can have holes, can have gaps, a portion of your feet can be shown, the socks or the footwear can be see-through. Why we are making all of these things? Because there is a notion that this footwear must be made of leather and there should not be any holes in it. This is the position of many of the Hanafis. This position is incorrect. The sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, the Sahaba, leaves no condition to be put on the footwear. It could be even a flip-flop. As long as you have the footwear on you, it should be fine to wipe on it. Now there are some, of course, conditions that we must know. First of all, the footwear should be worn while the wudu, we have the wudu where we washed our feet. If we made the wudu and we washed our feet and we put a socks on or a footwear on, this footwear should be on while we break the wudu. When we broke the wudu on that footwear, it is on this footwear we can wipe on it. Provided we do not take off this footwear after we broke the wudu on it. If we take it off when we broke the wudu on it, then we lose the right of wiping on top of it. If we didn't take it off, so let's say that I made my wudu, I put my socks on, whatever type of socks or footwear I wore on, and I broke my wudu on it. Now I can wipe on top of it, provided I don't take it off. Now, after I broke my wudu on this footwear, if I take it off, I lose the right of wiping on it. I have to now make a wudu next time. If I have to have a wudu, I have to make a wudu and wash my feet and start the whole process again. So if I made my wudu where I washed my feet and I put my footwear on or socks on, now I can wipe on top of it. I can wipe on top of it. And the clock starts ticking. The clock of the 72 hours start ticking the first time I wipe on it. So let's say I made my wudu at 10 o'clock. Then I wore my footwear at 11 o'clock while I had my wudu where I washed my feet. This is a condition, right? And then I kept on wearing it and I broke my wudu at 12 o'clock. And then I made my wudu, renewed my wudu at 2 o'clock. And this time I wiped on top of my socks. So my clock starts ticking at 2 o'clock. From 2 o'clock today, 2 p.m., to next 72 hours later, on the third day. So today is Sunday here, 2 o'clock. Monday 2 o'clock, Tuesday 2 o'clock, Wednesday 2 o'clock, I will lose the right of wiping on top of it. Let's say that at 1:45 on Wednesday, I made a wudu, and remember, throughout this time, I cannot take off my footwear. If I take off my footwear at any time between these 3 days, I lose the right on wiping on top of it. But let's say that I broke my wudu and I made my last wudu at 1:45 on Wednesday. And I wiped on top of my footwear because I didn't take it off. Okay, very good. I'll keep on making the prayer. At 2 o'clock, I lose the right of wiping on top of it. but my wudu is still on. And then I keep on praying with this wudu as long as I have this wudu. Let's say that after 2 o'clock I took off my socks. Is my wudu gone? No, my wudu is not gone. My wudu is intact. Okay? But I took off my socks, that's fine. Because I have to take it off anyway when I make the next wudu. Because at that time I cannot wipe on top of my socks anymore. At 2 o'clock I lost the privilege. Okay? So I took off the socks at 2 o'clock, but that doesn't mean I broke my wudu. I still have my wudu. I will keep on praying until something happens because of which I break my wudu. Now, when I make my wudu again, I have to start all over again and have to have a wudu where I will wash my feet. And now I have again the option. Do I want to wear a footwear? If I wear a footwear and I want to keep on wiping on top of it, alhamdulillah, and as you know that this will really help while we are in the state of traveling. So that's why I wanted to concisely discuss this. And of course, the traveler should say the dua of the safar. The dua of the safar, inshallah, in the next class, I'm going to go through the hadith of Abdullah ibn Umar radiallahu anhu, where he reported the dua of our Prophet sallallahu when he used to embark upon a journey, what he used to say, inshallah ta'ala. In the next class, I'm going to cover that. Subhanakallah wa bihamdik. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.